Oh.
What does that sound like?
Something like that.
Woo! Um, awesome, dude. You're such a talented person, and I hope some of these young kids understand like they're so much more talented than they realize too. And you're Adrienne is a student from AVID, and he's going to graduate this year. So it's awesome to see. Um, 1 second.
What's up, y'all?
And you know he's so talented in all these different things that it's neat to see him grow and even branch out even more. Like I don't know if you were here, Adrienne, when I gave like a little seed to the kids, and I did that for the last couple of years. And like I tell them, like this is you, and you don't really know what you're going to be. And even if you know what kind of tree, like you don't know where the branches will be, how much fruit the branches have, like. And we think we know who we are when we're this young. Even adults, we don't know all our abilities. There's so much we could do. And so it's so nice to see students go out and just do so much and learn so much and change and like we talked about earlier, testing your values, keeping your values that are strong, knowing that you have some good ones. But Adrian, I remember in high school he started beatboxing, got really good at that. He was a gamer in high school, so he might talk a little bit about that. But he goes to blanking out Santa Cruz, right? Yeah, so he attends Santa Cruz and he's graduating. I had mentioned it's a school that I probably would have really considered. I never saw it before until I started teaching AVID. It's very beautiful, very naturey, has forests and beach nearby. But you'll find with every school, like there's sometimes the way that it's just different, not comfortable. I had a student, and I tutor Jasmine's sister. Her name was Anna. She came back more for like she was getting very homesick. But I've had students who went to Cal State's up north, and they were trans, and they felt the school was safe, but they didn't like the community, like the city nearby was a bunch of old people, and they were a little bit more prejudiced. So it's like it's good to get as much knowledge and experience. Let me give it all to you, Adrienne. Do you want to just share your screen so then it's a little easier for you to control?
Yeah, let me pull up the presentation real quick.
But you know, we've had like 6 or 7 guest speakers, and yours has been one of the best ones as far as I mean, they're all been so great. I can't say that and feel mean, but like you gave a lot of what I mean, I guess by that is you gave a lot of different ideas that the other guest speakers didn't talk about. So that's really been valuable. So take it away, Adrian.
Okay.
And you know what? One last thing is I don't know much about your like upbringing. Did you know maybe were you?
Oh yeah, we could talk about this.
Yeah, I know you said you lived in Compton right now, so you know I don't know what that was like or if there's anything you want to share, but you don't have to.
Yeah, for sure. Let me go ahead and do that. Is this the thing? Is this working? Right? Yeah, cool. All right. So what's up, everybody? I'm Adrian. I was actually born and raised in Mexico, and I came to the U.S. when I was about like 9, maybe about to turn 10. And I used to live in Montebello, but we used to pay rent. And the lady that would rent to us, she kicked us out because somebody had to rent from like her family, or she was gonna occupy the space. So my dad's like, you know what? Why pay rent when we could buy a house and pay the same amount? So we came somewhere cheap, which is here in Compton. And yeah, we can go ahead and fast forward. So as you can see in the picture on the right, this is where I used to live. Like my freshman year, these are the dorms in the Merrill College. But anyways, so I graduated from MHS in 2017. I'm graduating in like 20 days from UCSC. I am a cognitive psychology and LELS major. And if you don't know what cog-psy is, it's basically the study of the brain through computer science, or not majorly computer science, but some computer science. And LELS is Latin American studies. And I am currently waiting for grad schools to see where I go next. I'm waiting on Arizona State. I'm waiting on Purdue, and I actually got a full offer to North Dakota, but it's North Dakota, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's very different and very cold. So he's going to get his graduate degree. I'm assuming you're starting with a master's right now, Louis. Is it
Yeah.
the same name, cognitive neuroscience, or is there different
Oh
names?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Program?
I'm my field of study for my master's is going to be forensic psychology.
Oh, wow. So are you thinking of maybe law enforcement?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, awesome.
yeah,
I didn't know that from the last presentation.
yeah. They completely escaped my mind. So some hard hitting questions that some were asked by Mr. D and some I thought of myself is what were you expecting college to be like when before I started to how it is now? I definitely knew it was going to be more individual type of work in the sense that in middle school, high school, elementary, right, you are told, hey, get this done by this day. Don't forget you have this thing due next week or whatever, right? In college, it's more of everything falls on you, right? There's times where I would be working right either at the dining hall or my other job, or schoolwork, and I'll be like, oh shoot, it's like 5, I need to eat, right? Like just things like that. Or I need to turn this in. I need to buy my scantrons. I need to make sure I schedule this meeting. I need to make sure I go to the advisors. I need to make sure I declare my major. I need to do laundry. I just pretty much everything falls on you, right? And that's a big difference that not a lot of people know, or they think they know, but it's actually it hits harder once you're in college. And yeah, my college career from beginning till now, in the beginning I was a little shaky. I almost got kicked out of college before it even started. We can talk about that in a bit, but I don't know if anybody knows what Title IX is, but it's basically it guarantees everybody, and I mean everybody, women, people of color, transgender people, pretty much everybody, that they all have the rights and everybody is respected at an institution like UCSC. And basically, what had happened is I went up to Santa Cruz like 3 weeks before school started because of a program called EOP Bridge, which is part of EOP. And I was assigned to, we were like 60 students. We were all assigned into small groups. And basically, somebody from my group, which I didn't know, but turned out to be gay, saw a pride flag across the other building and decided to take it down and put it on his window. And basically, the people at the university and EOP saw it as an act of violence against gay people. And by association, I wasn't even there at the time. I was taking a shower when that happened. But by association, everybody in the group got in trouble until we kind of explained what had happened. And everybody told them, oh, yeah, he wasn't there. But yeah, it just got blown out of proportion and I almost got kicked out. So that wasn't good. That was really stressful. And I also failed a class that wasn't even my fault. I was telling the other class and Mr. D that I was taking Calculus 1 or Intro to Calc. And I've never taken Calc right. I only took Pre-Calc with Mr. Shaw. And this professor was on some weird stuff because the first day of class said, I don't know if any of you are taking Calc or Pre-Calc. Um, he basically said, who knows derivatives, right? And like 80-90% of the class raised their hands. So he said, F you, the 10%, the 20% that don't know derivatives, we're skipping it. So everybody was at a disadvantage that didn't know what derivatives was. And I was in another program, which I forgot to mention last class. It was called ACE, which is basically like this mentoring and tutoring program, kind of like AVID, but for like certain subjects within STEM. And even our supervisor or like our mentor and tutor, he was like, what his name was Andre. He was like, what the hell is going on? Why are you learning vector calculus? Why are you learning linear algebra that has nothing to do with calculus, like the beginnings, but yet he's still going over it. And when the final came to be, right, he gave us a study guide. Nothing in that study guide was in the test. There was like 3 questions out of 20.
I mean, so for some of you, kind of can't get an example, maybe with language. So let's say you go take German and beginning German, and the teacher
Yeah.
at the beginning is like, "Hey, who knows German? Oh, you do? Then let's just go to German 3." And so they skip like 2 levels, and you can't understand anything. It's very frustrating. I had that happen with We never learned in school grammar. I had a grammar class that was required, and the same thing he just assumed. But geez, that just reminded me when I was in community, I went and took a college class at Rio Hondo and ELAC when in between summers. And I had a professor just like that, dude. He was a physics professor. What he taught in class, what was in the notes, and what was on the test were all different. Like nobody could figure it out. And honestly, my friend was a science major and he failed. I only passed because my grandpa died. And so I had an extra week to study, and my friend told me like what to study. So yeah, you might have those professors, and in fact, I don't know if you all did, Lewis, just going in even after the fact, speaking to the dean, because right, they're going to keep screwing people over, and that's really something that somebody needs to say or address. And I even had my dad call when it was my situation. It didn't help very much, but we tried to get the guy to see some more common sense.
Yeah, so collectively as a class, I believe out of 400 and something students, only like 50 of them passed. And these were people that knew, like pre-calc, calc 2, taking classes prior to going to college. And everybody, like every single one of us complained. And they basically told us that they couldn't really do much about it because that professor was like really respected in Santa Cruz as a researcher. So yeah, it was David versus Goliath, only that we lost. That's how that story ended. But yeah, hard times, hard times. The next thing that we have is um, questions that I would like all of you to think of either now or later as you continue your journey. Is what is it that I want to do with my life? Am I doing what I want to do or what other people expect me to do? How do I get there to that certain point? And is this the only way or can you do things differently? And what I mean by all of these is that, at least for a lot of minorities and at least for me, right? Um, a lot of parents, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to be a lawyer, I want you to do this, right? But like at the end of the day, they're not like gonna live your life, it's you. And if you don't want to do something and you're stuck with that for like 40, 50 years, like is that really gonna be what you want to do, right? Like you're gonna be miserable the rest of your life, right? And
I
as
try to tell
well,
students to think of high school, Lewis. Like, imagine if the kids who hate high school so much do that for 40 years, and we don't think that way, right? If you're not really preparing, you might be miserable for 40 years. That is a lot of pressure of your whole life, and it could ruin your life to be just hate your job for 40 years and take it out on your kids. So what he's saying, I want you to just like pay attention to that again. Plato even said it. You got to do what you love and keep finding and searching till you find what you love, or learn to love what you're doing, because it's a wasted life if you're miserable for 40 years going to work. Uh-oh. Did he get muted? You there, Adrienne? Hmm. So I know a couple of you came in late. I don't know. We'll see a second. Oh, that's weird. Try stop sharing your screen. Maybe that'll work. I can try to do it. Oh no, I asked you to unmute. I can't make you unmute.
there we go.
Oh,
I don't know what was going on. That was kind of weird.
that's okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. And yeah, basically, a lot of people, we were talking about this during the first class, that a lot of people are just fixated in, whether it be a UC, Ivy school, right, or like a Cal State. And it's cool if that's what you want to do, right? But also make sure that you look into every single option that you have possible, and that you make the decision again that you want to make now because your friends are telling you, or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your family, right? Like make sure you do something that you want to do. What I mean by that is because I'm in debt, right? Everybody is. And I could have saved like $5,000-$10,000 had I gone to a community college and done all my GEs, get those out of the way. But also it meant that if I did do that, it meant that it was going to be harder for me to go into like the UC or whatever other school and just straight up take upper divs from there on. Like there's there's good and bad in whatever option you might choose, right? But make sure you choose that option that best benefits you or that like helps you in the long run, if that makes sense.
This is a
That's
really
what I
smart way to
meant.
put it. Very smart. That like there's good and I've never really heard someone say that so directly. There's good and bad in both decisions, right? And we always think the one we like is only the good, and we really got to weigh your options. But there was a thing in Avid where for many years it's like 4 year, 4 year. No, we're getting you ready for a 4 year, and you're going to eventually end up there, right? Community college takes you to a 4 year. But if you have a situation where you want to save money or things aren't working, or even going to community college in the summer, there should never be shame. Like you're saving money and doing a great, making a great decision if it's good for you. But the flip side is true too. You can't just say I won't apply to a 4 year because you might get a full scholarship. Many of our students do, or have all your tuition paid. So like he's saying, it's always something to stop and really think things through on both sides and see value in both sides. Uh-oh, did I do it again? So I'm not going to talk again because it seems like when I do, I get you stuck on mute.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. That's kind of weird. But anyways, next slide. So these are questions that Mr. D asked me to talk about. It says, how do you wish your note taking was different compared to high school till now? And like I was telling the first class was that, through middle school and high school, we were told, Cornell notes is the way, and make sure you have your Cornell notes and all this other stuff. But I realized that once I went into college, that didn't really work for me. What worked for me might not work for all of you, and might not work for any of you. But basically, what I ended up doing was I figured this out early, right? I would go into class and just like write, mindlessly, just keep writing whatever that like whatever I saw on the board, whatever the professor said, right? Just I kept writing and writing. And if that's what you want to do, I guess go for it. But what ended up working for me was if we were reading chapters 1 through 4 or whatever, I will read that before like a day before class and take notes on that myself, and then take a notes on what the professor said, not what or and if it was something important like on the board, I would write it, but mostly what the professor would say, right? And then compare those and make the final set of notes that I would study because it's information from the book that maybe he didn't talk about, but I know it's important. And then information that he said that maybe it's not on the book, right? Or that he goes further, or that they go further into like certain main topic or something. And then by then I would have like the best pair of notes, not Cornell note format. Like I just write and highlight and a bunch of other stuff. I wish I would have taken a screenshot of one of my notes, but yeah. And then college, before pandemic till now, I hate online learning. I don't like it, and part of it is not against anybody, but a lot of my classes now, it's everything's on YouTube, on Canvas. Watch the lecture, do the work, turn it in later. Like I just don't learn that way. I've I'm gonna keep it 100. I have not learned that much recently that I could be like, okay, like it was worth it. It's definitely not worth it, at least for me. And pre-COVID, everything was great. I would go to office hours. I would spend time, at the library doing work or whatever. And now I'm kind of stuck at home. Part of it is because I really want to take care of my health. I have asthma and high blood pressure. So if I do get COVID, there's a big chance of something bad happening, right? So I don't want to risk it. That's why I hardly leave my house. And yeah. And the last question is how your values, like how has your values either changed from high school till now? And like I was saying, first period, my values didn't really change. It's more of like they became stronger. They got strengthened. And what I mean by that is I live by just one motto, and I will forever, always live by this motto. And it's something that's in a song in Spanish. It's called the saying is "Voy por el sueño de muchos," which is if you translate it, is "I chase the dream of many," right? And again, a lot of my friends always tell me, bro, do things for yourself, not for your family. Make sure you do whatever you want to do, right? Not them. And I always do what I want to do, right? And I always do it for myself. But I know there's a bigger goal than this to me, right? Like my dad had to drop out of college. My mom only finished like eighth grade back in Mexico. My brother only did a 2 year, right? Like I'm chasing my dream, but I'm also putting their dreams on my back so I can get that motivation, that strength that I need to follow what I need to do, right? And it's always something that like I keep on my mind, and it's actually my senior quote. And yeah, so they didn't really change much. It just kind of became stronger, I guess. If Mr. D wants to say something, I'll probably just mute over here on my device. Y'all won't hear anything, but yeah. What have I learned? The first three bullet points, I kind of already touched on, so I'm kind of gonna skip that. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned is just do you. Do whatever you want to do, as long as you're not hurting anybody or putting anybody down. Just do what you gotta do to be happy. If you like playing Yu-Gi-Oh, play Yu-Gi-Oh in college. Nobody cares. If you like dressing a certain type of way, nobody cares. If you like playing video games, nobody cares. And again, as you can see at the second to last, the last bullet point, I've seen people in my 8 a.m.s go on their PJs, like they literally just woke up, roll out of bed, put their backpack on, and went to class. Like in college, nobody cares. Like I feel like I don't know if it's just Santa Cruz, but one thing I do notice is that the more weird you are, the more friends you get, because you get more, like you attract more people, you get more attraction, if that makes sense. But yeah, again, it might just be Santa Cruz because they're kind of weird. But yeah. The next thing. Oh yeah, this is how my college life looked like. I worked at the dining hall, which is basically like the cafeteria, for 2.5 years because we got kicked out. And basically, I would be serving food, making food, helping the cooks with whatever they needed to like help with, cleaning restrooms. That was the worst. Full-time student in Santa Cruz. Each class is 5 units. So to be full-time, you either need 12 or above. I took 15 for 2.5 years. And after that, as I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, I started taking above 20 units. So I think the most I ever took was like 22, which was 4 classes and like a 2 unit class. So like 4.5. Does that make sense? And then recreation center. I used to play tennis in high school. I still play tennis whenever I can. And clubs, as we'll get on in the next slide. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the reason why I started taking a bunch of units is because I went in. Santa Cruz has this thing where you don't declare a major. You go in as a proposed major. You have to do a certain amount of work. You have to get a certain amount of classes out the way before you can even propose. So that's to like weed out people that like they don't see fit, right? Like if you can't do the work, or if you fail the class, then you're out of there, which is what happened to me. Again with the calculus course, and then I got a C- on it was CMPS computer science 20 some. No. It was, I forgot what it was, but it was like high level like programming, right? And I got a C-, and to them in Santa Cruz, that's a failed grade. Like that's not good. You might as well got an F. Like you don't get credit. So I ended up switching my major to accounting because I was good at math. I was like, okay, maybe have a career in accounting. And then I realized I hated it. And then I ended up switching to linguistics and philosophy. You don't believe me? I can show you my transcript. There's like 5 philosophy classes. I didn't like it. So then I moved to psychology, and before I actually chose cognitive science. And I was telling the other class and Mr. D that for the most part, a lot of my advisors within the college itself and in EOP, they were like, we don't know what you did all this for. Like you fell behind. I don't know if you're gonna make it, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to do all this. And I took it upon myself to prove them wrong, right? I was like, you're not gonna dictate how I do my thing and how I go about my decisions, right? So that's why I started taking like the 20 units, and I'm graduating right on time, even though they said I wasn't gonna do it. And again, that's one of the regrets I have in college, not being able to switch my major earlier or like not making that decision because I'm pretty sure I could have finished in like 3 years or like 3.5. But yeah, you live, you learn, right? And this is a clip of what I do. Before we go into the clip, let me go back. So when I used to live in Mexico, my parents, I mean, even still here in Compton, my parents had the fear that I would join a gang or that I would fall into drugs and all these other things, right? So my escape from all of that was I would just play video games, right? Since I have an older brother, but we don't really talk much. He's like 30 something by now. So we don't really, there's a big disconnect there. And I would just play video games by myself. I'm good at fighting games. You play me in any other game, you'll probably beat me. See me in a fighting game, there's a really slim chance you win. That's just how things are. And so I started playing a lot of fighting games, right? And I got so good to the point that I was actually sponsored during high school by a team, small team, and nothing like like Cloud9 or NRG, nothing big. It was a small time club, and they paid for me to fly out to events. I would play under their brand, wear their jerseys, right? Get cool stuff. And yeah, I just continue playing video games and I continue doing my thing. And this is actually one of the clubs that I'm in. As you can see, like the little thing here is the Santa Cruz fighting game community. It's basically a bunch of people that get together Fridays or the weekend, and we would play Smash, other fighting games, Guilty Gear, all that stuff. And I can show like a little bit of the clip as like you can see what I'm talking about, like what we do. This was actually a really cool event because my housemate, like one of my closest friends, he's in a fraternity. He, he's in a fraternity, and we decided to host an event with my club and his fraternity to raise money for cancer research on campus. And it felt really good because we raised like over like $10,000 in the span of the Friday, Saturday, Sunday that like the events were set up. So that was really cool. Um, and yeah, again, this is just something that I do aside from working and full time student. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for y'all. So if there's any questions regarding anything and everything, I'm willing to answer. You can just shoot them.
Ha, same question as last time. Who do you main in Smash?
Hell yeah, dude. Uh, I actually see. So the thing with me and Smash Bros is I pick a character just because they look cool or whatever, and then a month down the line they turn out to be like some of the best characters. In Brawl I play Meta Knight. We all know Meta Knight, busted. In Smash 4 I play Diddy Kong and Meta Knight, still really good. In Smash Ultimate I play Wolf and Pokemon Trainer, really good characters. It just happens to be that way. I play Pokemon Trainer because my favorite Pokemon is Venusaur, and Ivysaur's in there.
Another thing that Lewis does. So it's to me, I always thought it was so cool in high school. He was earning. Adrienne was earning money playing games and doing something he loves. As our parents are sometimes telling us like no, but we also I think I'm really impressed by him. Seeing him grow up is he's been balanced. Like he didn't neglect school, right? We get sucked in. That's what our parents are worried about is having balance. But to hear that he raised $10,000 playing video games, that it remains a thing, and like we said earlier, doing something you love and a passion, and you never know like what he might end up doing something with video games. You never know when opportunities come up. But he's adding to his tools. So he had mentioned he wants to go into forensic psychology, and again, it's just to see people's interests change and see more talents and more talents. Let me get Mauricio. I don't know if you were going to write something. Let me get a. I have a Nearpod. So go ahead. You all are going to do a Nearpod. So Louis, what this is, it's going to give him a chance to put little questions or comments on a sticky board, a sticky note.
You want me to stop sharing my screen, by the way?
It's up to you. And then, so another thing that we always liked him to do in high school is he beatboxed a bit. So maybe before he leaves at the end, you can get him to beatbox. Um,
Yeah.
those of you who go to Nearpod, you can put in the code or click the link directly. So what the whole point of the Nearpod, I'll share my screen, is for you to see also, Louis, is to get you some, put your questions out there or a comment. So please make sure you at least ask a question or a comment. You're going to get credit for this, because otherwise we just sometimes don't do it. You got a question or a comment? Put it in the chat again. Yeah, I'll send it right now. Oops. Oops, I just clicked something. The one thing I think, Lewis, how about you? You probably are so good at computers. What I'm thinking is a lot of these kids, young people, they don't realize how much they learned in the last year that you kind of just need to know using documents and PowerPoint and this and that and editing documents and writing on a document and submitting documents. Like it kind of caught us up to where we should be. Like we were so behind in our
Yeah.
school of doing everything online. We just got laptops like typewriters. So now we're actually, I think they're going to go to college and be more savvy and prepared to even use digital notes if they want, or some of them are doing that.
Yeah.
Let me start approving some. Where was he born again? So he was born in Mexico. Well, I don't know if you remember what it was like. What was it like coming here when you were 10? Do you remember like how it was to fit in? I had a
Uh,
hard time when I was 7.
yeah, it was horrible. I knew some. See, I was actually kind of fortunate enough where in my like school in Mexico they were like teaching us English and stuff like that, but it was like super basic stuff. So I knew like some colors, some numbers and stuff like that. And it was horrible. I couldn't communicate. I couldn't do anything. It was a whole new experience. And I was just defeated like the first like 6 months I was here. And you can ask my mom, my dad, everybody. I wanted to go back. I was like, this ain't for me. Like this ain't it. And but look at me now. It says how many classes can you pick when we were in college?
And so
It
I'll like this
depends.
after you've talked about him so that we can keep track. Right.
Yeah. It depends what college you go into, because I know a lot of my friends in Cal State, they are taking like 5 classes, right? But they're like worth like 3 units. For me, I'm taking 3 classes, but they're worth like 5 units, right? So it really depends on like the school and if it's a quarter system or a semester. For me, my classes go super quick. Um, I have like 9 weeks, right? 9 weeks of classes. 1 week that's supposed to be dead week, we like are preparing for finals, but a lot of professors still want to teach stuff and put it in the finals, which makes no sense. But there's 10 weeks, and 11th week is like finals week, right? Well, like on the other hand, semesters have like what, like 15, like 20 weeks, I don't know, something like that. So it just really depends.
Yeah, it's
uh
interesting because high school you have 6 classes, but in college it's usually 3 to 4, and I think that's good because you could focus on, well, on the one hand you could focus on a little bit learning more in those subjects, but at the same time in high school you're kind of trying to learn a little of everything so you can get to that point, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
we already covered the first one, right? The where was he born again?
yeah.
We can
How do you pick your classes?
can
Like,
you
what's that like when you go to college? You pick your classes.
Yeah, I can actually, if you want me to show that, I can probably show it.
It's just like a computer and you pick them, or do you meet with a counselor?
You want me to show you? I'm pretty sure I can show you the process.
Sure.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me log into my student account.
So then,
So for everybody to
Daniela,
see.
while you're doing that, I'll talk. Daniela, for me, linguistics, you know what? It actually really helped me understand Spanish and even understand English better. Like when you say I went to the store, you went a mi casa. The a is a to. It's called a preposition. Or even like noun, it just means nombre in Spanish. Nombre, just the name of things. Noun, name things. Pronombre is
Yeah,
instead of the name. So what I found about linguistics is it's a lot like math. It's like it can get very complicated. It's honestly like doing an algebra 2 problem with a sentence. Here's the verb, here's the preposition, here's the present participle. So you have all these different like rules and things that we didn't realize, I didn't know language had, and it's a lot like math. Someone asked your dream school. Oh, you already asked
oh yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
My dream school was actually Irvine. And Irvine did me really dirty because not only did they waitlist me, they rejected me like a week after. So like they basically said, here's some hope. Nah, psych. There's no hope for you. So yeah, I still hate them, but that was my dream school.
Waitlist means like that means if they're gonna wait and see if other people who got in don't go, then they'll give you a
They
chance
decline.
to take their spot. You
Yeah,
can share your screen if you want.
yeah. So here, let me show you how this looks. So this is how my portal looks, right? And basically, when enrollment season comes along, you go here, and then here are the enrollment dates. So as you can see, it began March 29th. and it gives you a time, right? So the higher you go, right? So juniors, seniors get priority and stuff like that. And basically, what you do is you go to class search.
And athletes too get priority.
Yeah, exactly. And then you would look. You could probably go to summers, and summers is the thing that's open. And let's say you want to take a class on physics, right? But you want it to be you want it to be an upper physics class, right? So then you search it. Oh, guess what? There's only one. So summer session 10 weeks, 14 out of 20 students enrolled. Tuesday, Thursday, 120, yeah, 1 to 5 p.m. God damn, that's long.
We did. It's probably a lab. Like, yeah, they do labs in college. When we did our teaching credential, we would teach all day and then go and have 4 or 5 hours at night. So you'd go to class from 5 to 9, but they give you big breaks and they let you out early.
Yeah, and
Look, what
again,
we
let's
did
say
this
when
year
you
for the first time, the students. I don't know what it's like. I wish I saw. They actually registered for their classes online this year because we're
oh
all
really?
online. So we had this system
Mhm.
set up to just kind of put what you wanted in a kind of like this, but it's not as fancy. This is a little bit better.
I feel bad for these people taking beginning to Python.
What's
I
Python? Is that
I
a programming language?
Yeah, it's a different programming language. I hated it. I switched to a different beginning class, and yeah.
So again, a bunch of you aren't really thinking or putting a question, but there were those of you who have, there's some great questions. Someone asked, "What was your dream
Uh,
school?" I think did you
yeah.
mention
I
that,
said Irvine.
Irvine?
I said Irvine. Yeah.
What did you like about your
Uh,
major? The cognitive neuroscience. Cognitive means kind of like thinking or processing of the brain. Is that what
yeah.
cognitive?
The brain. Yeah. I just really like I want to learn. Basically, my main goal, and if one of you steals it, I'm gonna be really mad. But like my thesis and what I want to focus on is, or like what I want to do once I get there, is a lot of times like anxiety is everywhere, like test anxiety, just anxiety in general. And I feel that when people are in trial or when people go to like get some tests done to like see like what's not what's wrong, but see like if they're mentally ill or not, they get nervous, get anxiety. And I feel like sometimes because of all the wires and everything they put in them, I feel like that's not a really good representation or like a good way to test for that type of thing. So what
And
I want
and,
to
and,
do,
and you as you learn more, you realize the tests are like garbage too sometimes. Because that's
yeah,
like telling someone you're intelligent. This test says you're smart. It's not possible.
exactly,
There's no test that
exactly,
could possibly do it. Well, what you're saying, wow, that's very profound. It makes sense because when your emotions are triggered or physical pain, it sends you off your center basically. It doesn't allow you to function at your best thinking and physically. So what you're saying is absolutely true. When we're overwhelmed with depression, hatred, any of those seven deadly sins are kind of emotions. Anger, hatred, pride. Those emotions, so when you're afraid and you're going to go take those tests, it does change your brain chemistry, I would imagine, but
yeah,
it will interfere. It definitely will interfere with you being your best at anything. So
yeah,
anytime we're emotionally off balance, so I wish kids knew, and you will know sooner than I did. I barely learned a lot of this in the last 2 years, right? When you're tired, you can't concentrate. But also when
exactly,
you're sad, and you don't like yourself, you can't concentrate. When you're mad, you can't concentrate except on being too mad. But it depends how mad you are, right? So there's all those degrees. But if we know someone who gets so mad can kill and not even think about it, then we know that just being a little mad must do a little bit to the brain too. So
exactly.
that's going to be a very good thing. I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, and
Book
basically
that.
what yeah, and I'm hoping that someday, some way, somebody would sponsor me as like get a grant, and I want to see if I can develop a different way of testing, right? Like a more efficient way of testing with people where people don't have to put a bunch of wires and all this other things, right? To like get more accurate, like scans of the brain and stuff like that. So
And
that's what I want to
I
do.
would even think that along with that, finding ways to actually have like a system to make them more calm and comfortable if you
Yeah,
can't completely
exactly.
change everything. Yeah, no, man, you're going to change the world. That's going to help a lot of people. Um,
So did you get along? I want to like do the top one, the top right one. You get along with your peers? Yes and no. My freshman year roommate was he was an interesting fella. Not I don't hate him because hate is a strong word, but I did dislike a lot of the things he would do. For example, he would be playing video games at like 4 in the morning because he suffered from what is it, the like the sleep deprivation thing? I forgot the word.
Insomnia, I think.
Yeah, insomnia. So he would suffer from that, and yeah, the thing is that like his headphones would bleed a lot, so like you could still hear through the headphones, and it would just irritate me and bother me. And like, but other than that, like I don't think I ever had a bad like encounter with anybody. Everybody was pretty chill, or at least I got lucky enough to
I
where
had a
everybody was pretty
roommate.
chill.
I had a roommate who, like, for 10 years until I got over it, right, I wanted to murder him. Like, he was the guy who was like, I'm a good person. I never want to hurt anyone in my life except that one guy. He would keep us up at night. He would party. He would purposely make noise to wake us up at 3 or 4. Like, he was on purpose torturing. There were 3 of us in the room. One of my roommates actually fought him, beat him in for a week. He was nice, and then he went back to it. That kid who was Mr. Party, I'm so cool. Literally, the first week of school, we came for cross country practice. He literally said this: "My goal is to be cool in college," which you can do. And everything fell apart. He got kicked out of school. After 2 years, he lost all that credit and money, or maybe 3. He had to go back to Washington. I'm sure he grew up and became someone who's not so selfish. He would talk crap about. One day he was talking badly, really bad stuff about me, and I was in the booth behind him, and he didn't know. So, right, we can have these experiences that we're also going to sometimes have to reach out, and I wish I did that more, to deal with this. I really, looking back, wish I would have had my parent or somebody call to complain. I complained, but they didn't do anything, or demand a new roommate. One of my roommates left college because of this guy. He was the top science department. He was getting the highest grades, but just this experience. So you got to stand up for your mental health, and your sleep is part of that. And it's not a thing that's going to happen to you. It's just bad luck in some ways. You get a bad roommate. But know that if you're paying all that money and you have a bad roommate, you should have them, change them if they're really not working on changing themselves. One's about what country would you go to? That's kind of not too related, but it's a fun question. Uh,
I would go to Italy.
Beautiful. What keeps you motivated? That's a very good question.
That's a good question. There's a lot of things that keep me motivated, right? For one, again, just like my experiences growing up, seeing the difference between like Mexico and here, how people live over there to how people live here. Again, I was actually kind of fortunate enough where we weren't poor, but we weren't also like up there, like tax, brackets. So like just seeing like my dad struggle sometimes, like from time to time, or like am I gonna have enough money and stuff like that, which is part of the reason why I actually like went hard on video games and did all those other things, right? Because I actually, not a lot of people know this. I think I might have mentioned this, not this in this period or like this today, but I think I did mention it last year. I've actually been fortunate enough where I made, a couple of dollars where I was able to help my parents with either rent or like buy food or whatever, right? So just different, like the different circumstances that show up, I guess, daily or like different days. That's what keeps me motivated.
And
Uh,
then, what was your high school experience like? That's a good question.
yeah. High school was okay. Some people say it's the best years of your life. Some people say it's the
It's
worst
the
ones.
worst.
Yeah,
For
some
me,
people
it's the
say
worst.
is the worst ones. My high school was okay. People, and this, I don't want to hate on anybody or talk bad or down. Um,
But
people would tell me, right? Oh, dude, you're so smart. You're so this. You're so that. And I don't think I was. I don't think I was like super hella smart. I think I was just really like applied to my work. I was a really hard worker, and
no, you're sharp. I'll have to give them some credit. You're sharp.
and, and being like a hard worker will get you to a lot of different places. Because should I tell like my GPA and stuff like that so like they can kind of get
Sure,
an
if you
idea?
want. And then another
Okay.
person, um, remember in zero period they ask about like what your AP classes were like, because some of them are
Oh yeah.
taking, they're taking 2 or 3 or 4. They're wondering, is it worth it? And like, how did you manage when it
Yeah.
when it was stressful?
hmm So I think I ended up high school with like a 3 point, like high 3.7 or like a 3.8. I was like top 20 something in our class out of a lot of people. Again, it's because I worked hard and I did like everything that I could and like to be there. But the top 10 people, now those are really smart and they are from breed. let's not get into that. AP classes. IMO AP classes, at least in high school, most of them were busy work. I think if there's any AP classes that actually did help me were Mr. Crooks, which were English classes, because I was able to like learn different things about like writing English. Like, everybody tells you the introduction, the three paragraphs, and the conclusion. In college, they kind of tell you to throw that out the window. And Mr. Crook like started getting us like ready for that. Like, make sure if you need to do like six body paragraphs, do six or whatever the case may be. So a lot of things that I know now and a lot of my work ethic comes from Mr. Crook from AP English.
And being a teacher and being able to see him when he was here, he retired. He just, that was his life. Every day he's walking home with a bag full of essays. He gave them everything he got. And the kids sometimes are like, oh, why is he so hard? He's preparing you to be strong, not to just struggle. And even then, there's always more we can learn in writing. Everything is reading and writing. And the faster you read, the more free time you'll have if you read all your homework faster.
Yeah.
Gio, that's a good question. Is your system by the class, or do you pay out like a certain amount per semester, per quarter?
It's both per se. So if you do go to Santa Cruz and you decide to live there, right, there's going to be like the campus fees, there's going to be tuition. I mean, there's going to be like room and board and stuff like that. And then classes tend to be per unit, but they are cheaper during the summer because they don't really offer housing. And if you do, it's kind of a scam. So you're better off finding another place off campus. Trust me, you'll save so much money. But yeah, it's kind of like both, if that makes sense. I don't know if that explained that very well, but
Yeah, no, it does.
yeah.
Well, to me, it did. Would you have gone to college, you think, if you stayed in Mexico?
What huh. Probably, but I know it probably wouldn't been much. What I mean by that is because my brother got his 2-year degree over there, and it's not really worth much here. They basically told him if you want to do that career, you pretty much have to start all over. So, yeah. Do you feel like giving up? If not, what makes you think otherwise? Oh, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, is it really worth it, right? But again, I just remember where I came from, and I know that for example, for me, my parents have done everything in their power to try to put me in a place where I could, succeed. So I just use all of that to keep going. And energy drinks, healthy energy drinks. Don't drink Monster, none of that. Those
Yeah,
those
he,
are
he,
those are not
he
good.
mentioned that, now he has health issues because he was pushing himself. A lot of gamers and programmers, you'll see it even in movies, like they're just drinking 5 Monsters a day and programming for hours a day. Well, we now understand how the cortisol, when you're focusing, you're releasing more stress hormone, cortisol. And when you're stretching yourself out for a long time like that, like it's going to have consequences.
Yeah,
Did you ever feel like giving up? Well, that you were talking about it.
yeah.
Thank you. Would you
Uh,
change your major now?
hell no.
Oh, good.
Now that I know like what I want to do and how I want to do it and like all these possibilities, no, not even if
And
they pay me to change.
and Natalia, I would say too, even though he's finishing, if you are thinking that you regret it, go back and finish and get what you like. Like, do not let those 2 years or 4 years stop you from being happy for
Yeah,
40 years. 40 years of working until you retire. It's just such a burden. It's such a weight to go home and mad and depressed and not feel appreciated or not like stuff.
exactly.
How would you narrow down the options for college with so many career options like that? That's something that it's
Yeah,
daunting. It's overwhelming, but it's something you're kind of explain how it is, where you kind of go there and you're kind of learning how to find out what you like while you're there.
yeah,
You don't
I,
really need to go ready like I know this is what I want.
yeah.
That's usually doesn't happen, and people who feel that way often change their mind anyway. They change their major.
So again, for me, I went in thinking I wanted to do computer science. I've been, involved with video games my whole life, and now working making video games right in the video game industry. And take a look now. I'm not nowhere near the in the gaming industry, but I think that it's a good thing that Santa Cruz does propose majors because that way you get to see like you get a taste of like, oh, they really want to do this with like philosophy or whatever you want to do, right? And if you don't like it, then you can go ahead and change it. They do tell you like you have like the first 2 years is for you to kind of like try, okay, do I want to do this? Okay, maybe not. Let's do that, right? That's why a lot of students in Santa Cruz tend to do like 2 classes of what they want to do and like a GE. That's how like their first 2 years are for the most part. And unless you have AP credits and you kind of knock out a lot of classes, along the way. But
Yeah, that's
it's
a good thing. Talk about AP credit. How does that work in college? When you take the AP, if you pass the test,
yeah. I didn't really do too hot in AP in my AP exams. I only did good in the Spanish ones because, well, I'm from Mexico and I speak Spanish, so I kind of cheated there, right? Like it was an easy fours and fives. So I only got credits for Spanish 1 and 2, or like the intro to Spanish, right? That's why I got like a head start in linguistics and Latin American studies, because they do want you to know a different language that's not English. And yeah, you basically get credit for the most part. I don't really know how that system works per se, because I did get a 3 on Mr. Robles's class for that AP. I think it was the government or something, and they didn't give me credit because I don't know if there was like no class that could like be in that category of that test. But I didn't get credit for that one even though I passed. So it's a really weird system. I think like it has to like fit within a category for it to give you credit
my
for
friend who
it.
went to UCLA, I think they only gave you credit if you had a 5 out of, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 score.
Really?
Yeah, 4 or 5, I think.
Huh.
But my college and then Point Loma, like if you needed to get at least a 3. If you got a 3, they'd give you 3 units in that. So if you got a 3 in
Yeah.
English, they'll give you 3 units in English. If you got a 5, they'll give you 5 units in English. So
Yeah.
for my college, you go to a private college, sometimes it's $1,000 a unit. So those 3 units are $3,000.
Yeah.
Those 4 or 5 units are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
That's a big
So,
difference.
yeah, no, learning to pass them is not only a good challenge for your study skills, but you can save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Giovanni,
Because
when you
I
first
know.
prepared, you took AP. It's not mandatory, Gio, but it's like 2 things. Number one, it does make you look good, a little like they know you can handle the challenge. That's what colleges are afraid of. So, like, can you handle it? They want to know. That's what they look at your grades, and it's really right. It's not always true. Your grades doesn't really mean you can handle it, but that's kind of what they're
Yeah.
trying to see is, can you handle and can you give something to us, give back and teach us something almost. And so the other thing is taking an AP is more difficult. And if you don't practice more, like imagine playing middle school basketball and then going to college, like you're going to get crushed. So like until that's our point in AVID, is to see where you're at and be honest. If you're not ready, don't do it. We're going to build up to being ready, and then also build up to being ready for college, not just get there. Like, we don't want you to get to college. We want you to keep building and graduate and feel confident there. That the one thing you said, Lewis, and the other guest speakers, and the personal statement I was reading for medical school, right? Multiple students have spoken throughout the years saying they almost got kicked out of college. There's no shame in that. It seems right. It's really, really hard to accept if you've never failed a class. And Haiti was our AVID president, and she got a full scholarship from
UCLA, right?
an engineer. Yeah, but she got it from an engineering aerospace company.
Oh.
She had applied for a scholarship. So that's a good question, Giovanni. Sorry, I got distracted. I forgot what I was even saying.
You were saying about Haiti and the.
Oh yeah. So she failed she was a math major, and she failed calculus. And one thing she didn't do is she didn't take calculus in high school, even though she kind of knew she'd be a math major, right? So even if you took calculus in high school and failed it, that experience, you'd learn way more and be a little bit more ready to take it than if you never took it. Like, some people just avoid senior year or anything hard.
Yeah.
So your APs are really, maybe they're not necessary if you're not focused in getting C's or D's in them. But if you could take a AP and get an A or a B, you're really training. It's training. You're lifting heavier weights, and you'll be stronger and more ready when you get to college. I don't remember if we did Adrienne's. How did you narrow down your choices for college? And
I actually wanted to add another thing, like about AP classes and all of that stuff. One thing that makes sure that when am I talking to seniors or am I talking to
10th graders?
10th. Okay. Graders. Yeah. Okay. Make sure that you do everything in your power right now to set yourself apart. And what I mean by that is, me and my friend, we both applied to Irvine and Santa Cruz, to a lot of UCs. He got into Irvine because of grades, right? And I don't think he was in the clubs, but he got rejected from Santa Cruz. Now I got into Santa Cruz, and it's kind of hard, I guess. It's like undermining my work, but I do believe that I got into Santa Cruz because of all the that I was doing, the sports, the extracurricular, and because of my personal statements. I worked on those personal statements for like 3 to 4 months before I turned them in, and I
Wow.
think that set me like really really far apart compared to other people. So if you do plan on going on a 4 year or like a private school or whatever, make sure that you get yourself apart as much as you can from other people, so that they would say, okay, I want this student rather than that one, because it's huge competition, and it's just whoever it's more hungry for it, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of a good answer to that. I was just going to type that. To Jocelyn asked, "What's the best advice?" That right there is very good advice. Is there any
Yeah.
other good advice you could think of? I mean, you've given so many things. It's
Uh,
okay.
yeah. Again, just a lot of people think it's I guess there's this saying, or there's this thing that like I go by, right? A lot of people like in high school or even in college, they get lost in the sauce, and what I mean by that is that they're so fixated on comparing themselves to other people, right? Like, don't do that. That's a recipe for disaster, because you're gonna look at somebody, oh dude, this guy is like 6'5", he can dunk, he's a amazing athlete, right? But maybe that person is saying the same thing about you. Oh, dude, this guy hella smart, right? Hella dedicated or whatever. Like, just stay in your lane, focus on what you gotta do. If you need to if you have a clear goal in mind, work on that. Don't be comparing yourself to others. Don't waste that time and that energy. Put that time and energy into yourself, because you're investing in yourself at the end of the day, right? And yeah, that's another good thing I would say.
And everything you're saying, I think, also goes along with surround yourself with good people, right?
Yeah.
Like, even your bad experience, you didn't have a choice. My bad roommate and yours maybe didn't have a choice, but like I in college, my professor was defending someone on a murder charge, Skid Row, who was going to be put to death because he was just in the car. Like, he was just in the car with the person. He didn't know what they were going to do. They did a drive-by. I have
Exactly.
my gardener. His son went downtown, Fifth Street, went to a party. He got shot and killed, or I believe it was shot, maybe stabbed. Right. So sometimes just being in the wrong place with the wrong people, but more importantly, what you're saying, when you're discouraged, when you don't think you can do it, when you're giving up, those are the people, your friends that you really trust and who believe in you. Like, be around people who believe in you and believe in the people you're around, because
Yeah.
those are the ones that are going to get you through the times where you doubt yourself, where you hate yourself, where you think you're not good. They're the ones who are going to help you stop comparing yourself too.
Yeah.
And those are really good questions. And the last one's, are you happy? Do you think it was all worth it?
The
Sounds to me, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy, but also not, because like I'm always hungry for more. Like I'm always trying to, like, I strive to be like the best version that I can, and like I guess it's kind of like cliche to say, but like I'm always like doing something to to keep going, right? Whether that be with beatboxing, whether that be for my podcasting job, whether that be for school, right? Like, I'm always looking for ways to improve and keep like moving forward.
Uh, Giovanni, when you're applying to college, that we talked about that and we looked at your GPA. It's 10th and 11th grade. They look at your GPA for A through G classes,
Yeah.
English, math, history. So they look at 10th, they look at 11th. Gio, we already answered your undergraduate in the chat. So then the last question I got was, what would you recommend that these 10th graders focus on for the next 2 years? Kind of like you said, I think being involved, getting activities that really made you feel like it helped your app. Is there anything else besides the clubs and
Yeah.
involvement?
Be involved. Make sure, again, you set yourself apart compared to others. Work the hardest you can work at. Use your time wisely, right? Like, let's say on the weekends you blow 9 to 10 hours playing video games. Now, I'm not your parent, right? But you can blow like 4 hours, playing video games or whatever. But use the other four to, like, again, if you're interested in computer science, look up, like, there's a lot of different websites that will teach you stuff for free. Just be as prepared as you can be for whatever major you want to go, or like whatever you want to do. because again, there was people that I was competing against, people that had 3 years under their belt with computer science, that took AP computer science, that their parents worked at like Apple or whatever, right? So like they were up here while I was barely starting, right? They have a head start. Just make sure you do like whatever you can to be as prepared as guess as best as you can be. Is what I would say.
And it's not to put too much pressure on you, all right? It doesn't mean like, oh my God, I need to
Yeah,
do all this. It's just if you know kind
take
of
your
an
time.
interest you have, go kind of get involved. And if you don't know an interest, then get involved with the club. You'll find some interest as you do that, and people that are going to teach you things. But right, there's not the pressure to go figure out and go get your career started in an internship. But if you, like you said, if you know you want to do computer programming, start it now. There's classes now ELAC's offering on our campus.
Yeah,
If you're interested in law, our guest speaker said, go get an internship or go try to work with somebody related to that. So you could even believe in yourself, know that you could do it. Like, oh, these are normal people. They're not geniuses. It feels
yeah,
like that way. Um, but it's not something that you have to overwhelm yourself with. But if you kind of have an idea, then you
yeah.
get to know if you don't like it, right? Why wait until your sophomore year in college and change your major? Why not find out now? Like, am I really interested in teaching? Am I really interested in this or that? And if not, just go get
Yeah,
interested and find things like a club. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
related to your career. My student who was finishing law school said when she started at UC Irvine, her roommate was doing cancer research, right? So some people, it's just not fair. We don't have the same opportunities as them. But you can always go find and make opportunities, is my opinion. It's
yeah.
just how bad do you want it? So that's
There's
awesome. Go ahead.
there's another two things I want to say. Make the best with what you have, right? Again, our school is really lucky that we have, some AP classes, right? I have a friend who their school had no AP classes, so and I think that like their highest level of math was like algebra 2. And he's doing well in Santa Cruz. But again, just make the best that you can with what you have, and also remember that it's not a race. Everybody is different. Some people are gonna finish in 3 years, some people are gonna finish in 4 or 5 or whatever. As long as you get that degree, that is the goal, right? Like if that like okay, like I want to graduate from here, then that's your goal. Then like don't overstress yourself if that makes sense. Because there's people that are like, oh, dude, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then they like burn themselves too quickly, and then boom, next thing you know, like I said, my friend or my roommate, my freshman year, oh, dude, I want to do this, I want to do that, blah 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 blah, boom, insomnia, and started doing bad in school. He got kicked
Balance.
out.
Fraser
Yeah,
Fraser always says balance.
yeah, exactly.
Balance. See, in short term, you think no, but all I want to do is basketball because I want to be good at basketball. If I do my homework and everything else, I'm not going to be good in basketball. No, doing your homework, being disciplined, and all that actually makes you better in basketball. But again, if you don't
Exactly.
believe me, fine. Like then nothing I say matters because I don't lie. I'm trying to share. I'm not always right. I'm trying to share what I've experienced and been through. But um, you said there was another thing you wanted to say. It was really good advice.
Oh no, that's pretty much it. Just those two things. It's not a race. Take your time, do what you need to do, and make sure you make the best out of what you have.
I can't tell you how many students I had, boys and girls, calling me in college crying because they're so afraid to tell their parents, I'm changing my major. Or or if one was afraid to tell me, like even us, right? I'm going to disappoint my teachers. I don't think you always, I'm not saying you should care, right? But we put that pressure on ourselves, like, oh, I'm going
Yeah,
to disappoint Mr. D. Like, no, you're not going to disappoint me. Like, if you come home, come home. Tutor Jasmine's sister came home from Santa Cruz. It was too exhausting and too much that she missed her little sister and her family.
yeah,
You can't be miserable. If coming home's the right choice, it's the right choice. If staying makes you feel that it's right, then stay. But never be embarrassed to make a change. And I know it's hard to sometimes have that pressure of our parents, of society, of our friends, or even our teachers. Like, no, you're not going to disappoint us. You're going to disappoint us if you don't do things to be successful in life, to be happy, but also to be balanced. That's where my mentality is changing. Like, I don't want to be great at something. I want to be balanced and a little of everything so that I'm good in and can be great in the things that I do like. But it does take balance. There's so many people burn themselves out, get exhausted, get sick. They stay that way. My friend who's a millionaire, he has $2 million house, but he's working 100 hours a week. He's 350 pounds and he smokes. Those three things continuing to do them as he is going to make him end up in the hospital, which his dad is actually getting surgery right now. His dad's kind of the same way, and his dad smokes. So, right, we gotta sometimes even listen to our friends, but overwhelming ourselves, it just starts to get so you can't even get back on track. So many of you are very lucky. You always kind of reminded me, Mr. Fraser would talk about balance, balance, balance. Like, I get it. This stuff is great and important and you love something, but we still got to find time to sleep and do other things.
Yeah. There's times where I'm like mid assignment, right, or something, and I'm just like like it's I'm not gonna get anywhere if I don't do something else. So like I'll go out and take a walk, or I'll play like an hour or something of video games, and then go back to what I was doing.
Like what you were saying about your emotions, when you can't concentrate, if you're tired or you're distracted, it's pointless to study. You're wasting
Yeah.
time in a sense. So I learned to do that too in college. Just I studied too much and I didn't know all this, but I would go to the underground library. There's a bottom floor and it was always empty and people would go sleep. So I'd study until I'm just tired. Let's take a nap. Then I get up and study more and then take another nap. Like I understood and no one told me, but I realized if I'm tired, studying doesn't matter. So go take a
Yeah.
break or go take a nap. There comes a point where it's just making you frustrated even more and you're not remembering anything. So yeah, that's
Exactly.
very good advice. I don't know if we can get him to beatbox, but I love hearing him beatbox. It's just like so cool. It's like, how do you make those sounds with your mouth? So maybe he could end with that if anybody wants to have a comment. And then at the end, I hope everybody takes the time to thank him.
If there's any other questions before last minute stuff. Nope. Okay.
Like
Cool. So this is not my song. This comes from another beatboxer from Australia. His name is Codfish. Yeah, weird name, but I'm just gonna remix his thing. It is a lonely existence. It is a basic scheme. Nothing but strength and persistence will get you in the stream. There's only one thing I ask of you, is that you follow me along this crazy adventure. Just sail with me. Just sail with me.
Nice. This is actually how you would clap online. It's like the sign language clap. They do this in sign language. Good job. Can you really quickly do like you did in zero period, like something like a whole bunch of sounds together? Just blows my mind. You got me actually. I started looking at and watching YouTube videos on beatbox competitions and even like breakdancing too. So cool.
Yeah.
Just for like 10 seconds. I just love when you mix all the different sounds. I don't know how you can do it.
Oh, like you mean like breaking up like patterns and like different tempos type thing?
Whatever you did in the morning was just like a lot going on. It's like, whoa.
Oh.
You had some like
something like that.
woo. Awesome, dude. You're such a talented person, and I hope some of these young kids understand like they're so much more talented than they realize too. And what I've learned over guest speakers coming is that I don't know your talent. I don't know your potential. I don't know what's possible. Your parents don't know what's possible. Your classmates, nobody knows what you can do. And we sometimes limit ourselves. Like I bet you when you first started beatboxing, right? Nobody's great to start. People probably tease you. Now you're probably impressing a lot of people in college when you want to feel like beatboxing because you like it. Like, don't let people embarrass you into not doing something you like. It'll ruin whatever amazing talents are coming out. Never let someone, always challenge it. Wait, should I let them make me feel this way? Because, man, it's just amazing to see how talented you young people are. And I can't wait, Lewis, to see your book and research and how you change the way we treat our people we're trying to help in their brain.
Yeah.
And any last things? Can everybody give them a thank you, and we'll explain what we'll do the rest of the period. I mean, the only thing I can do is I can make that horn sound sometimes, and even that I can't hardly do anymore.
Yeah. I tried learning it, but
it's weird. Like, you close your throat and the air goes in and out.
I do it differently.
Yeah, you do a lot of things I can't do, so I don't even want to try.
But
You're gonna hear me trying to beatbox. All my neighbors are gonna think I'm crazy.
Let's go.
Thank you, everybody, for thanking him. Lewis, you're the best because you always even volunteer before I can ask, and we really appreciate it. You've just been growing and growing and growing. So keep it up.
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.